I hear so many ambitious introverts share the same feeling. I feel invisible at work, and no matter how much work I get done, I'm not really recognized for it. But the issue might be not the invisibility, but it might be your positioning. So if you share the same feeling of really grinding and really knowing what you're doing and your subject matter, but not actually progressing the way that you feel like you should, this video is for you. I worked in a Big Four consulting firm for almost 4 years, and I was specializing in people. And that included leadership development, where we look at what high quality, really confident leadership looks like and help people get there. I've learned so much about how you can command respect, authority, but also really prioritize yourself within this whole career journey so that you can be a leader while also feeling like you're not burning yourself to the ground and you're staying true to yourself instead of pretending to be someone else that you're not. Also, alongside that, I'm a fellow introvert and I've gone through a very stark transformation over the past 10 years. And I've gone from someone who was very shy and very quiet to someone who's actually confident talking about their skills and sharing their opinion, and also public speaking, which is something that I never thought I would say, because I've always been the person who even feels shy to put their hand up when there's a Q&A. So let's start with looking at what that feeling of invisibility might actually manifest as. Some of the examples include being in a meeting, but for example, your opinion not being sought out. You're just there ticking the box that you attended, but people don't really look to you for answers. Or worse, maybe you have suggested an idea previously, or you've done something, and that is being presented by someone else, and your contribution is almost being kind of stolen from you. That happened to so many of us, especially women, because so many times we've been in a situation where we've contributed an idea or shared an opinion, and then that gets unnoticed. But the moment that a man says it, then immediately it's a brilliant idea and everyone goes with it. But also I think the same thing happens to a lot of introverts, generally of any gender, because we're so used to being quiet and so used to not putting our stuff out there in a very outward way. And that means that sometimes it takes someone who has that skill, someone who is way more extroverted, way more confident, to actually share it for people to hear it properly, instead of you just quietly and maybe kind of cautiously suggesting it. Oh, maybe we should think about potentially considering possibly. You know what I mean? In the same vein, it's also possible that you've encountered a situation where you've been working your ass off and doing so much stuff, maybe even above your pay grade, and really going for that promotion or just being recognized for going above and beyond, but then you're not, because the way that maybe you talk about your work does not position you well for that recognition. And I'll give you a personal example that was really, really incredibly painful for me to experience. I was in my 3rd year of the consulting job, and I was hoping to go for an early promotion. And to do that, you need to do a lot of things, including performing above your grade. So performing at the next grade that you want to be promoted into. And you need to be doing that for some time, for about half a year at least. And I was, in my eyes, very much doing that because I was taking on the responsibility of managing a whole team. I was really looking after everyone's capacity, thinking about how can we meet the deadlines that we have and go along with the project plan that we had. Also mentoring someone on the side who was on the client's side of things, which complicates it too. And being a point of contact for a lot of people for all the questions. Managing the end customer as well on the client side, and that included hundreds of people, and also all the leadership people and giving them updates on how things are going. I was really stepping into that manager role pretty much. And I assumed naively that, well, I'm doing all of these things. It's a no-brainer to give me the promotion because I'm doing all the things that I am required to be doing at the next grade. And I genuinely believe that I was. As much as I'm also prone to downplaying, to really toning it down, I really, really was performing at that level. I truly believe that. What I didn't do is think thoroughly about how I speak about it and how I talk to people about the impact that this is having on the team. I was always reporting back about all the things that I have done. What I didn't do is talk about it in a more strategic and big picture way, where I would link that to the objectives of the project and also to the sales and kind of the stuff that our consulting firm wants to achieve with doing this. Like, for example, build trust with the client, build a very good reputation, be seen as reliable, be seen as someone who can take on more work and manage it very well. I was not making those connections when I was talking about it. And lo and behold, obviously, I did not get the early promotion. And that comes in the context of climate being pretty bad in the industry. So it's fair enough. I was kind of thinking that I might not get it in the end because of those things. But I really, really regretted how little attention I paid to that strategic positioning element. And we'll go on to that now. Let me introduce you to the concept of under-positioning. It's not anything groundbreaking, and I'm sure intuitively you understand what it is. It is essentially when you are presenting something in a way that doesn't put you in the best position or in the best light, or doesn't give you the best chance of getting recognition, promotion, and other things in return for that work that you've done. You might also be suggesting things very tentatively, being afraid to take a stance, and that means that you're always kind of on the fence and never really having an opinion. You're always for compromise instead of being firm about what you believe is the best course of action. Same thing goes for your expertise. When we talk about our knowledge and the experience that we've had, the thing that happens so much, especially to women, because I've been there, is that we really, really, really undersell our experience and our skills. And I've wondered for a while, why is there such a huge conversation about imposter syndrome among women, but there really isn't among men? And this is my feminist side really feeling super strongly about it. But I really believe that we should often channel the confidence of a middle-aged white man named Richard. And if you think about it, it's crazy sometimes how we doubt ourselves with, say, 10 years of experience, but then there might be someone who will go for the same position with 3 years and they'll feel so good about it. They'll say, well, of course I'm capable, and of course I'm qualified, and here are all the examples of why. So under-positioning in this sense is really downplaying how much you know, how much you've done, and how much you're capable of. And I think it comes from a very deep-rooted insecurity about your own expertise and also lack of self-trust. And all of those things lead you to not position yourself in the strongest light. The thing that I've realized over the years, which was absolutely groundbreaking to me, is that so many of our outcomes of our success in life are truly only based on how people perceive us and not the actual objectivity of our experience, skills, and all the other stuff. And that is why being confident and positioning yourself well can pretty much do 80% of the job. And if we think about the 80-20 rule, the fact that 80% of your results will come from 20% of your input and effort, it really means that we need to be super, super strategic about where we place our effort and what we bank on, because oftentimes we as introverts, or introverted women in particular, we really bank on our competence, and we really think about, if only I get the most knowledge out of everyone in the world on this topic, if only I become the best at the job, if only I go above and beyond with the hours that I'm working, then I will be recognized. But the truth is that you can be doing all of those things, but if you're not positioning yourself well, none of the success will come, because people will not perceive you in that way. That comes with the caveat that, of course, you should be aiming to be as competent as possible, as skilled as possible, and your actual experience really, really matters. But I assume that if you are like me, then work ethic and growing in your skill is not a problem. Your problem is probably the positioning. And if you can resonate with this, if you've been doing all the stuff, all the things, ticking all the boxes, and you're still not getting there with the recognition, then let's talk about what we collectively can do better to get there. Number one, don't just complete a task. Analyze it, draw insights, and then present those insights instead of just the facts. An example of that could be if you're working on a report and then you maybe need to present the findings to leadership, then what you might be doing at a under-positioning level is you read the things, you draw out key facts and key themes, and then you lay those back to the leadership. What would be a better way of positioning yourself is reading the report, drawing the key themes, and then having a think about, what does that mean for the work that you're doing? What does it mean for the leadership? What does it mean for the direction you should be going in strategically? And then present those things to the leadership, because that's actually the level that matters to them. They very rarely care about the nitty-gritty elements of doing work on the ground. What they usually care about is strategy, culture, revenue, and all of the higher level things that actually matter for the direction that the company is going in or the organization is going in. If you can be the person to pick out those insights and present them as opposed to the underlying level, you will be seen as someone who's way more confident and someone who's actually stepping into that leadership role much more. And when a question arises about, oh, what should we do with this issue or that issue, you might start to become a person that people actually go to for an opinion. And the thing I would say is that sometimes we feel like, well, if I don't present the lowest level, the facts first, I can't actually jump to those conclusions. What I would say is really have it in your mind, all the facts that you're basing this on, all the evidence that you drew conclusions from, have it in your back pocket. Note down all the numbers that you need to know, and then just have it there available so that if anyone questions your conclusions or questions your insights and recommendations, then you can go back and actually back it with evidence. Otherwise, I say don't waste time on it. Time is precious. Time of the leadership is precious too because they're stretched so thin usually. So just jump to it. Give them the stuff that they want to know. And then if they question anything, you will have evidence to back it. Number 2 is make links between meetings, people, work streams, teams. Again, the thing that I've noticed from others and also myself when I was at the beginning of my career that we often do when we're more junior and we're under positioning ourselves is we just operate in the little line back and forth between ourselves and our manager, or ourselves and the person we manage. And it's literally a straight line and we don't venture anywhere else. We go to a meeting, that meeting is done. We go to the next meeting, that meeting is done. The thing that I would really suggest that you start doing and thinking about is how can you link the different people operating in your organization. If something comes up in a meeting that you're in that is relevant for another meeting that you know you will be in, then noting down what you want to bring up and then raising it in the other meeting will be of service to the whole project and a lot of people. And I'm sure that they will really appreciate someone who can actually keep tabs on all the stuff that's happening and draw those links. In the same way, if someone comes to you with a question or with an issue and you know of someone who can actually help them really well, someone who has the knowledge, the insight, the experience, the connections, introducing those two people to each other is a great sign of someone who's a leader and a connector, not just someone who is, waiting to be told what to do. People always really appreciate and really notice the people who introduce them to others and share their network. It's literally one of the clearest and nicest power moves that you can make. It's to be the glue to link people in where it makes sense to. Number 3, fix your language. This is something that I found so challenging and the thing that I was faced with every single time we had a talent review in the consulting firm, because to actually get recognized, you have to sound so confident about the work that you've done and also show the impact that it's had on the different targets and goals that your team or your company has. For example, you might be saying, I worked on the sustainability initiative. How does that sound? That kind of sounds like you could be literally 100 other people. Whereas if you can say, co-led the sustainability initiative, which engaged 50 practitioners from across the industry and generated $1 million in revenue. How does that sound now? That sounds way more powerful. That sounds way more impactful. And also it draws out the things that your firm will probably care about. And it doesn't have to be sales all the time because that can be tough to actually draw out the actual monetary impact. But if you can draw out anything that will have a number attached to it, I suggest that you do it. It's the advice that we're given for interviews, but it similarly applies to how you talk about your stuff at work and also in talent reviews, because numbers just sound way more solid than saying I worked on. I worked on sounds like you're at the entry grade. Even if you are, I would suggest that you make your language stronger. Try and really think as a white middle-aged man. I can't put it in any other way. How would they talk about it if they did the same work that you've done? And then adjust your language accordingly. If you're relating to this and if you feel like you might be under-positioning yourself, I've created a 3-minute audit that helps you pinpoint exactly where that is happening and what to do about it. I'm going to leave the link down below in the description. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.